Over the years, there have been many videos circulating the internet about trying to beat as much of Mario 64 as possible without the jump button. It's a challenge that has taken countless hours of routing, movement optimization, and research. But after looking at all these videos, it got me thinking about a question that I'm surprised no one has asked anywhere on the internet. How much of Mario 64 is actually possible with the jump button? I know, this sounds crazy, but hear me out here. Immediately after opening the game and going through the opening sequence, this category shows some real promise. By pressing the jump button, known from here on out as the A button, Mario is able to gain height in ways that are completely unavailable in traditional no-jump play. This breakthrough could be huge. And before continuing, I do need to clarify that a challenge of this scale can't reasonably be covered in just one video, so today I'll only be pushing up to the first Bowser stage, with the rest saved for future parts. Starting off, I decided that Bob-omb Battlefield would be the best starting place since nowhere else is really available. While I am going to go over every star in the game to see if it's possible or not, I will gloss over the ones that are basically unchanged without the A button. So first up is King Bob-omb, which is already very easy, but a neat thing you can do here is jump up these stairs instead of having to slide kick over them. Koopa the Quick is basically the same. The first major change comes with the Island Star. In the no jump challenge, getting to the island is a whole thing, but with the A button, I now have access to a completely different option, the cannon. Normally in no jump, you can't use it because it requires the A button. But now, thanks to this newly discovered tech, I can simply launch Mario directly to the island. This star almost seems easier in comparison to the previous challenge. The red coins are very similar. Once again, the cannon turns what would normally be a more complicated setup into a much simpler solution. Then came the secret star, and this is where things started getting really interesting. While testing movement options, I discovered that if you press A 3 consecutive times on the ground, Mario performs a completely different jump. I call this new technique the triple jump. Using this advanced movement option, together with the wing cap, lets Mario glide around the stage with far more freedom than I originally expected. And then I started wondering, what if I use the cannon while wearing the wing cap? As it turns out, this gives Mario a massive starting boost, making flight significantly easier. With that, this star was obtainable with basically no issues at all. For the Chain Chomp Gate, this is where another major discovery happened. While experimenting, I found that Mario can actually perform a ground pound out of a jump rather than only falling from a ledge. Using that technique on the post lets you push it down into the ground. Surprisingly, the developers actually realized you could do this, so they added this cool cutscene and they reward the player for finding this by removing the bars in the way of the star. And since Mario can now jump, this star is easily grabbable from the ground. The last star for this stage is the 100 coin star. It's already possible without the A button, but now that getting to the island is so much easier, this star ends up being a breeze. And that concludes the portion for Bob-omb Battlefield and begins our venture into Whomp's Fortress. The first star here is with King Whomp, and while there is a fairly complex setup to beat him, with the new ground pound tech I found, it's a walk in the park. Next up is going to the top of the tower, and the route to the top is surprisingly generous. The developers appear to have placed a series of elevated surfaces around the tower. It's almost as if they were expecting the player to jump between them, but that's just my conspiracy theory for the day. The third star is this one here on this platform. I knew there was a cannon over here, but I wanted to attempt something new. After multiple trials and errors, I found that if you press the A button against the wall while you have momentum, you can hop off of it in the opposite direction that you hit it from. Using this, I can jump up to the platform with the second jump in the sequence of a triple jump that I am calling the double jump. With the red coin star, it already isn't even that hard with zero help from the A button, so this one is basically the same, except somehow even easier. Now for the star in the cage. At first I thought it would basically be the same as other no-jump conditions where you use the King Whomp to roll into the cage. While running around, I happened upon this tree that has an owl at the top. After talking to the owl, you can jump and hold the A button to grab onto him and he'll carry you upward. From there, you can ground pound off of him to get the star. It's insane how much detail the developers have added to this game with things you probably aren't meant to do. With the star in this wall, it's as simple as walking into it at the correct angle and you have the star. However, I wanted to try to find a new way to grab it, so I did some testing. And here are the results of my findings. Crazy, right? The final star here is the 100 coin star, and it's basically the same as it is in the traditional challenge. So all around, Whomp's Fortress was pretty easy, and we found some new tech along the way. Jolly Roger Bay is where this challenge starts to look very broken. In the no jump challenge, just the act of moving through the water is a slog compared to what is possible with what we see here with the first star. When I first entered the water, I wasn't expecting much, but if you press A while Mario is submerged, he actually moves forward by a large amount. With this new knowledge of propulsion, I navigated my way to the ship and easily got in and grabbed the star. The eel star is literally the exact same, but faster with the use of our newfound swimming knowledge. Treasure in the Ocean Cave is interesting, because in the base challenge you actually can't get to the star with the no A button challenge. You need at minimum half of an A press to complete this star. With the full A button in our arsenal, however, this star actually becomes possible in a surprisingly easy turn of events. The red coins are another star that become incredibly simple once the A button is available to us, and it's complete in no time. One of the biggest differences between the two challenges shows up with this star here on the lonely platform. In the normal challenge you have to build up speed on a pillar, preserve it with weird move it tech, climb the pillar while holding that speed, and then dive across the gap to the platform. But now it's just a cannon shot and a hop away. I thought that through the jet stream might be a little more interesting because I thought about the possibilities of the metal cap with the A button, but I also thought that perhaps the jet stream could be swam through with the amount of propulsion that Mario gets with the A button. And after a few attempts, it turns out I was right. Sweet. In the normal challenge, the 100 coin star is a little difficult to be honest, because Jolly Roger Bay only has 104 coins in the whole stage, so there's very little room for error. But since we're doing this new challenge instead, the coins are gathered with relative ease. Cool Cool Mountain is one of those stages where there's almost no struggle with getting the stars without the A button. For that reason, it's one of my favorite stages because I don't need to do as much research or write too much more script for this part of the video. First up is the slide star, which ordinarily requires a frame walk up the slope here, but I can just hop right into the chimney from below. From there, it's basically unchanged. Go down the slide and head out the door to spawn the star. For the next star, Little Penguin Lost, it's basically the same star as the first star, then you can grab the penguin, slide down the slope, and return this thing to its mother. For the big penguin race, it's basically the same premise as the first star, so no more explanation is needed. The red coins are one of the bigger problems in the no A button challenge, mainly because of the coin next to the ski lift. The rest of the coins are gathered normally and the star is obtained with basically no resistance. Oh no, this guy seems to have lost his body. Luckily this red man is here to save the day. This star is already no problem without the A button, but now that Mario can obtain height on demand, the star can be nabbed without the help of a spin drift. Then there is Wall Kicks Will Work. In the Zero A Press challenge, this star involves frame walking to the top of the mountain, sliding down, hitting a spin drift, and using that momentum to glide into the star. But in this challenge, after my earlier findings in Whomp's Fortress, I am able to take advantage of an advanced movement option known as wall jumping. Using this highly experimental technique, I can just reach the star directly. The 100 coin star remains relatively unchanged with this challenge. The slide has 72 coins, and the path along the main slope has enough to complete this mission. This stage is basically a victory lap for completing the challenge thus far. There's no A button presses required to gain the red coin star or to get to Bowser, so adding the jump button almost seems to trivialize the matter. And that brings us to the end of the first section of the game completed with the A button. What started as a simple question in Google search quickly became an entirely new category. And after all this testing, research, and gameplay, I think there's only one reasonable conclusion to this challenge. Super Mario 64 is in fact very beatable with the A button, but this challenge is far from over. In the Definitely Real, Not Fake It All Part 2, I'll take this category even further.